Welcome to the Hostile Zone.
Use your voice, somebody hears you.
Welcome to the Hostile Zone. You're with the infamous and dangerous Eric Andrew Cinotti. Eric A. Cinotti. That's right. Who?
Eric Cinotti, of course.
Right here on the Hostile Zone, coming at you yet another day, another week. Folks out there, I hope you had a great weekend and you are amped up for a brand new week. I am accompanied by the on-air vocal talent, Miss Bianca Sea, S-E-A, like the ocean.
Thank you. Bianca Sea, that's me. Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the show, Miss Bianca. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How
Fabuloso?
Are you today?
You're doing fabuloso? Great.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So you have a good weekend?
I did. I had
Yeah.
a wonderful weekend. I love hanging out by the pool, getting the nice sun breeze. And
That's
everything.
it, a little sun breeze. Okay, so today, welcome to the show. The age of the epidemic in the age of misinformation in the digital age. That is the topic for the show this evening. So good evening. Welcome to the show. Again, without you guys tuning into the show, we are nothing. We thank you for that. We welcome you to yet another exciting and compelling episode of The Hostile Zone with your humble correspondent, Eric A. Cinotti. Tonight, we're going to confront a widespread issue of misinformation in the digital age. Okay? Digital age meaning social media, text messages, websites, blogs, all of the ways that people could be passing along information. We will explore the factors contributing to the spread, its impact on society, and the strategies to combat false information. Misinformation is a concern that affects the collective understanding and decision-making process for all people, not just you, not me, everybody. So whether you're a trained professional in whatever area you might be looking at, or if you are Jane Q. Public or John Q. Public, you don't know. So it does affect society, whether you want to believe it or not. Our relevant quote for the day: an informed citizenry is at the heart of a dynamic democracy. An informed citizen is at the heart of a dynamic democracy. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was one of our famous founding fathers, emphasizing the importance of knowledge and truth for a healthy, functioning, and democracy. If you know, I don't want to fall into a sea hole with too much information, but he was all about enlightenment and that sort of stuff. I'm sure you've heard of Thomas Jefferson.
Of course.
I hope so. All right. So talking points for this show and this topic. Contributing factors to the spread of misinformation. Digital platforms. And an overview of how the misinformation proliferates through the entire social media and digital platforms. So basically, once you throw it out there, it's like tumbleweed going down the highway, and that tumbleweed just going to keep going, and it's going to collect. It's like, or a dust bunny, right, on the floor. A dust bunny, that that's a military term, or other people know it as dust bunny.
Yeah, everybody knows that. Yeah.
Do they? So and the dust bunny rolls down the road in the house with the wind or whatever out on, and or the grass outside. It rolls and it collects and gets bigger. That's where I'm trying to go. So when a piece of misinformation or disinformation finds itself onto a social media or digital platform, it gets reshared and shared, and it's like that old game telephone where if you were in kindergarten and the teacher whispered into one person's ear a sentence and everybody had to whisper it, and when it got all the way around the room, the sentence is never the same as what was written down. Did you play that game in school?
Yeah, of
You
course.
did, right?
Yeah.
Everybody played that. So, I think it's an interesting piece because that is very relevant to misinformation and disinformation in this era, because what it starts off at is not what it ends off to be.
Very true. Was it? It's called like Telephone, the game?
Telephone, yeah.
Telephone.
So there's been some high profile campaigns, examples of recent things that have occurred with misinformation, disinformation, has caused consequences. It's caused investigations at the federal level, at the state level. If you want to talk about elections, and like with the whole Russian disinformation about Russian collusion in the 2016 election, the whole COVID-19 discussion that was what was an issue. So there are societal ramifications for misinformation, right? I mean, that's what happens. People put out a message. Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah,
you're so right.
Mm-hmm. They put out information and somebody reads it and then they just assume that it's every day and this is fact.
It's true. Like a lot of people would just read the title of the story and not even bother reading the facts or the details inside. And plus, if it's not true, people don't even do the research to go and check.
Right. When you open up an article, or you do a search on the internet and you're looking up whatever it might be you're looking up, you need to double check where you found it. Mm-hmm. Now, me personally, and I'm not, and maybe that's the professor in me and the lawyer in me and the politician in me and all that, but looking at this stuff, I always double check and I triple check, and I always, before I even click on something, when I open a search, I actually look and see before I even click it. That's the wrong color. I look and see where the location came from, and before I even open it. Most people will click the first 2 or 3 things on there, and then they are like, oh, okay, there's the answer. Generally, the answer you probably want is 5 or 6 in there, because if you look, a lot of them will say sponsored on there, and when they're sponsored, like when you open up, like let's say Google, if you're going to use Google or you're going to use Bing or whatever, when you open it, the first couple things on your search, some of them are sponsored, which means they were paid for. So they bought that position. So that's maybe not so much fact. You want organically, things that made it to the top of the search. Plus, you should really learn how to do a good search. You should look up proper commands and prompts to put into your search line, whatever search engine you might be using. And now with AI, people are not even using search engines as much as they were. It's kind of like antiquated tech. People that are actually Googling stuff are actually at a disadvantage to those that are using more advanced technology. It's kind of like people that are using old school film roll instead of digital. So antiquated technology, antiquated processes. So you need to stay up to date with technology, like we talked about societal norms. You need to stay up to date with all of that, with the tech and with what's going on in society. So then when you do find information online, you have a clue as to the tech, on where it came from, and the sense of society and where society stands today. Not where it stood 10 years ago, 20 years ago, where it stands today. So you can right off the bat look right at your screen and say, that is the article I want to read. That is the website I want to go to. Because when you don't, there are ramifications. Trust me. There's political ramifications. There's socioeconomic status implications, because you put out false information on public benefits, let's say, and you could have a bum rush of people showing up someplace thinking that there's some kind of free benefit going on. Whenever, like for instance, people were going on about the Obama phones back in the Obama era. Oh, yeah. How much of that was fact and how much wasn't fact? So people are lining up demanding their free phones. Not everybody qualified. People automatically assume with Obamacare that you're automatically going to get certain coverages and stuff. Yes, you assume, but you're not reading the fine. It's like reading the fine print. What say you, Miss Bianca?
Well, it's true. Like, with the discussion that we were having today, I mean, I'm like speechless, really, because you can't really agree of what you read.
Right. So what do you do when you look up something?
When I look up something, I always look up where the sources are. Also, the facts, like, .org or .gov.
Right.
And
you know what? It used to be with the .org, you felt better because there were like .gov is always definitely good because you can't buy a .gov.
Mm-hmm.
You used to it was much more difficult to get a .org years but they've tried to limit who can have that because you should be an official organization of 501c3 tax exempt, which means you went through an application process with the government to get your recognition.
Right.
But also another good one is a .edu.
Yes.
When it's that is one you can't buy. So you'll know if a school too is a legit university or school if you're looking at it and they're writing out a study. If it's not a .edu, then I would question it. Now, and the same thing with .gov, but there are some like sheriff offices around the country that have their own websites. So it might be the sheriff's office .us or whatever. So you got to really, really pay attention. And that's why you have to practice. You have to practice and look and just get a feel of what is good information and not good information.
Right.
Because when the information, and this is something you have to kind of, it's a learned process, but it's also a process that you have to prepare for, but you also have to experience it. And I think that is the difficulty in that is that you have to experience it, which means when you look at something, you have to know, yeah, you know what, that is right, that or seems right, or look forward and look further. I should not forward, look further to make sure the information.
And also too, when something is not right, it also has a misinformation about like your reputation of the person.
Right.
And you know what? It can also ruin lives.
It does. People
really
commit suicide over this stuff.
It's so sad.
People have committed suicide. I don't have any statistics on that in front of me right now because you got me into a thought that I was not thinking. I mean, I did think it, but I wasn't going to bring it in. But you brought it up. But it is. I mean, especially in this age where these kids are all falling over TikTok and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody drops a video with some information. I literally just watched the other day a famous, not famous, but a very renowned professor and financial analyst, Wall Street guy, like a Jordan Belfort kind of guy that knows Wall Street. But this guy is a professor and a finance guy, and he was analyzing TikTok videos, and 90% and just TikTok. We're not even talking YouTube.
Okay.
But he was talking about like the garbage information that people are telling people, invest in this and do that and do this and that.
Oh my God, it's so much.
And he was doing that and, saying, why would this person tell you that this is acceptable? You're not going to get rich, or this is not the smart way to do it, the better way to do it.
That's so true. And some people even make up about some stories on TikTok too.
They go viral, right?
Yeah. For an example, like in Europe or something, if a leader that like they would lie about a letter.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like for a fact like that. You know what I mean? So
and that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because it has the ramifications for the public, like you're saying, because public opinion gets swayed based on what they read. So when we're coming into an election cycle, then if you put out a piece of information like the tumbleweed and the dust bunny, it's going to get shared and roll, and people are going to add automatically, like the telephone game. They're going to take out a couple words, extrapolate a couple words, or they're going to interject some of their own words and opinion into it. So when the tumbleweed gets to the end of the road, which is on your screen, what you're seeing is really not what was forwarded in the first place. And you have to wonder what was forwarded in the first place, if that was even true. It might have been. And if it was true, that's great. But like the tumbleweed in the telephone game, by the time it gets to your screen, it's been shared 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 100 times, and people extrapolated or interjected additional stuff. You don't really know. That's why when you see it from sources on TikTok and YouTube, check to see the channel it came from. Like when you look at this show, you know you're getting fact with some opinion, but it's fact-based opinion. We're not just throwing out misinformation. And I always say, don't bot and troll me if I say something, because I know for a fact that I don't have the exact number, right, and I don't want to spread misinformation. There are strategies.
And that's noble of you because, most of the people that would tell the news and stuff, they really don't care and they'll just like say it and blur it out.
Right.
And not even apologize for saying like, oh, I was wrong about this fact or whatever. You know what I mean?
I want to be a good correspondent. I want to be a good on-air personality, a good journalist, correspondent, whatever, I want to, I want to give you the best of what I have. I don't come on here on this show to provide you garbage. And you're not going to come back if you're being provided garbage. Let's be real. So you have to identify misinformation. Let me talk about one point, and it's probably further down in my notes here, but I want to get it out of the way in the beginning. We were talking about this offset before. Mm-hmm. There is two different things that can be going on here. You have misinformation and disinformation. M-I-S, information, misinformation. D-I-S, disinformation. So misinformation versus disinformation. What's the difference?
Yes.
Right.
I was just about to ask what's the difference because you never know. Some people in the audience might not know. And it's a good...
Right, it's a good tool.
Yeah.
And remember, the only stupid question is the question that somebody doesn't ask.
How do you know if you don't ask?
You don't, yes. Right. And how do you learn? Right? I mean, people are afraid to ask questions, but at the end of the day, folks, we all ask the question at some point, and maybe you didn't ask it to somebody else, and that is what some people are embarrassed about. But the question you don't ask is really the stupid question, and the loser here is you, because you didn't ask it and you don't know. And the other thing is, the only question not asked is the dumb question. Well, everything in life is a question.
Right.
When you get on the internet and you're looking up something, whether you're using a Google search, a Bing, or an academic site or whatever, you've already asked a question, folks. You've asked a question of yourself. You've asked yourself, what is this? I'm going to get the answer. Like you just said, you asked me, so I was your version of the internet search, but you're still searching for it. So misinformation is when somebody puts out information that they believe to be true. They didn't do the proper vetting and the proper research. They didn't look at what it is that they were grabbing and repeating, and they didn't validate that it was real, that it was factual. So that's why it's incumbent on you folks and me and everybody, Miss Bianca, to validate the information that you're looking at, because when you re-forward it, you're now providing misinformation. Because if you don't know it to be true, you're now part of this process. You're spreading information that's not accurate. That is misinformation, meaning you didn't do it on purpose, you had no ill will, and you had no ulterior motive. You were not trying to hurt somebody. You're not trying to steer the public in one direction. You're not trying to be what they would say shady and do something. Now, this information, D-I-S information, Ms. Bianca, is when you put out information that you know to be wrong. And the purpose that you're putting it out is because you want to put out information to get the public to see things in the way that you want them to see it.
Right.
So this happens a lot with the elections, when you have let's look at any of the presidential elections. You have or any election, but presidential is the big ones, or even like the COVID-19 stuff.
Oh, that was major.
People put out information. Is it real? Number one. Now, how about, and here's the crossover between dis and misinformation.
Okay.
There's a cross, because the disinformation somebody put out on purpose to lie about somebody, to ruin their credibility because they do have something that they want to tell the public, and they want to tell the public what it is that they want to tell. Wow, I can tell you, I have been a victim of this, because I put out information, I pull back the curtain, and I tell you what it needs to be told. And because of that, people lie about me so they can take the floor out beneath me, or try to ruin my credibility. So this way, what I tell you, you don't believe, or you think is not accurate. So where the misinformation and disinformation cross is if somebody puts out disinformation about me to ruin my credibility, or to hurt me, or on the upcoming election to lie about President Biden, or he's out of it now, but Vice President Kamala Harris, to lie about her, and somebody does that on purpose, disinformation, and it goes out. but then you reshare it. That's the crossover because you believed it. So you're not a you're actually helping in disinformation. You're helping spread disinformation, but for you it's misinformation. So there is a cross. Gotcha. So disinformation means I intentionally am trying to hurt you. I am setting up a narrative, a public opinion, an idea about a person, a topic, or a candidate or whatever. And then you, by not checking your sources, and I'm not saying you, but in general.
Yeah, like, really, if you look at something and you like it, and then you're like, oh.
Even just liking it. But even just liking it.
Yeah, it's believable.
Because you're helping the algorithm.
Right.
You're helping YouTube's algorithm, Facebook, TikTok, any one of them. You're helping Google. You're helping. So, but you didn't do it on purpose. So you're not committing disinformation. Right. But you failed everybody else because you failed to do your proper research.
Right. So that's why, like, when I do in social media, what I do is all I post is like about someone's death, because you could right away look at that to see if it's true or not, if the person passed away.
And I always write.
That's the only thing I would take out.
I always look it up.
But any other type of topic or news and stuff, I never spread it out because you never know if it was real or not, and I don't want to support that.
Right. I mean, if I will share some information and spread it. Obviously, if you see my obviously all my media, I write articles, but I validate my articles. I cite where I got my information from. But you're right. You're very, very right. Yeah. You're very, very right. And we've all been victims. Don't think that I haven't made that mistake too. I put out information because I failed people myself by not checking. Everybody makes mistakes. So for me to say that I didn't, then I would be lying to you. And then I would say I'm spreading disinformation or misinformation, telling you something that's not true. The fact is we've all made mistakes. We're human beings. We need to be embedded in education and media literacy. Maybe that should be a new course in schools for the kids. We know they're not pushing math that much, and and the education post the pandemic is really falling apart. But students don't know how to balance a checkbook and all these things. But that's old school, right?
Students don't know how. Some schools don't even teach cursive anymore.
Right, script, right,
Mm-hmm.
right. Well,
Script,
Catholic
yes.
school, yeah. I have to shout out to school again. But the a literacy course in media and that stuff would be great, because it's a twofold conversation here on that, because and I want you to jump in.
Yeah.
The students should know what we talked about misinformation and disinformation. Mm-hmm. And this should start at an early age, because so many people are obviously everybody's using tech, right? And every child is really pushed into a tech world. So the encyclopedia day is kind of gone. Now it's Wikipedia. Now, I used to read encyclopedias.
Wikipedia, Google.
Right.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT and whatever your favorite AI tool is. But it's a twofold in the school process, because number one, they should learn about what misinformation and disinformation is, so they can properly research. I think, I know that I did in college, but not everybody gets this, but we had a statistical research course, and I had to take it for undergrad, graduate, and doctoral level. How to go ahead and research, how to do proper research, do statistics and analysis, and that sort of thing. This should be in the regular in the grammar school for kids, not as in depth, but how to do proper research, how to vet your information, how to look and see what it is that you're providing is real. Now, the second part of the media education, and this could be like they would do health in high school, but in the grade school, where half a year was driver's ed and the other half was sex ed or whatever. Yeah. You could do this in a 2-part every year. One part could be about how to properly do good research. The other part could be the ramifications for not doing good research, or the ramifications for sharing information that's about you personal, because the digital footprint lasts quite a while. And once somebody downloads it, they own it. So whether or not it's real, and the sad part is, if it wasn't misinformation or disinformation, and then some other person saved it on their computer, and whatever they believe it to be, they have it forever. It's not like an old school newspaper that end up in the garbage, and maybe there's a scanned copy on microfiche at the library. But other than that, it doesn't exist. When it's on the internet now, it's findable for a long time, unless if you really work hard to get it removed.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a great section to add into into the schools, because you need to know the difference. And I just think good research is really, really important, because if you don't know where you got your information from, how do you know it's real? I feel like I'm repeating the same thing over again, but it's very true. And just knowing how, here's a statement. It's not in my notes, but okay. I say it to students all the time.
And what's that?
If it's not written down, it didn't happen. Number one, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So you need to look and make sure that it was legitimately documented, in that maybe multiple places it was documented. Because if it wasn't documented, it didn't happen. I mean, at least in my world, if you didn't take notes, it didn't happen. You just need to look, and you need to make sure that what you're doing is part of the process. I have a ton of things I could say about that, but because students would come in and just say the stupidest things sometimes, and and they would swear they knew an answer, and they didn't. Do we have a song queued up?
Sure.
Or do we have one ready to go? Production, or how are we going to do this? Are you going to do it right? Is it ready to go?
Yeah.
To queue up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. I'll be singing "Invincible" by Pat Benatar.
Invincible by Pat Benatar.
It's a strong song. I felt like singing.
Powerful. Tell us why.
Well, because we will be invincible. You can't afford to be innocent. There is no sacrifice.
Right. Okay. Okay. Get your stuff ready.
All right.
Miss Bianca. Oh, Miss Bianca. All right. You plugged in there?
I'm plugged in here.
All right.
All right.
This sudden darkness fills the air. What are we waiting for? Won't anybody help us? What are we waiting for? We can't afford to be innocent. Stand up and face the enemy. It's a do-or-die situation. We will be invincible. This shattered dream you cannot justify. We're gonna scream until we're satisfied. What are we running for? We've got the right to be angry. What are we running for? Where we can't run to anymore. We can't afford to be innocent. Stand up and face the enemy. It's a do-or-die situation. We will be invincible.
Wow, Miss Bianca. Unbelievable. Doing your thing.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right. So, folks, we are back. That was great, Miss Bianca. Great song there.
Thank
What can I
you.
say?
I love this song.
All right. So, we are back into the game, folks. Back into the show. Thank you for that lovely song, Miss Bianca.
Welcome.
So, sharing incorrect information is a public concern across the board because you are if you're complacent and you're not, like I'm going to say at the end, keeping your head on a swivel, you're actually, somebody's typo can end somebody's life. I was talking offset about you and your YOURE apostrophe RE
Oh,
you
yeah,
are
yeah.
and
A lot of people don't
YOUR there and there THEIR
That's another one.
and
yes.
there THERE through THREW,
That's another
right?
one, yes.
All these words. Well, those words, that a mistake as simple as that changes an entire sentence.
You're truly right.
It changes an entire sentence.
It so annoys me, especially when like people are texting or writing a paragraph. You're so right. It
Right.
annoys
And
me.
and think to our conversation offset. What was an example we were discussing?
Oh, well, an example for what we were discussing, what the friends part?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You were mentioning a good
I'm
example
trying to give an example. Yeah.
about Rachel at that episode that she was doing the strawberry truffle or something.
Was that what it was? Yeah, it was like the layered.
Yeah,
the
it was a layered.
for Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
But
it was like a layered cake.
Right.
But the point was that she made a mistake and the pages were like stuck together. So she made half of a strawberry strawberry cake layer, and the other side was peas, carrots, like a.
And Joey liked it,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Right.
It was like a what is that? The potato, peas, and carrots,
Right.
and beef.
With jam and whipped cream and right. But it's funny, folks. You got to laugh, but it was a great conversation because and that was a 90s show. Great show, by the way. Jennifer Aniston was Rachel.
Yes.
Great show. David Schwimmer, Ross and Rachel. Fan of David Schwimmer. He was in actually he was in The Irishman too.
He was.
Right. But anyway, so that was a good example, folks, of that because she was making this Thanksgiving meal, and her failure to research and double check. So that was like an antiquated, for those of you who are older out there, an antiquated, that is your spread of misinformation because she didn't double check and didn't even realize that when she turned the page, they were stuck together, and she made two different recipes. And that affected everybody.
Oh,
because those pages stuck together, and her failure to validate that information, she made a totally two different meals into one, and everybody paid that. So if you put that on, that is what we would call a micro look, a small look. Macro, looking at the big side, that was small. But if you look at on a macro, that little bit affected her friends, the family, right? Yeah. So that same mistake on social media will affect macro, a large group of people.
So that would be misinformation,
Misinformation.
Right? So
because she didn't do it on purpose.
Half of a strawberry shortcake and half of a shepherd's pie.
Right. Is that what it was? Shepherd's pie? Right. So. So I mean, basically, it's the same thing. So forwarding information out on social media and talking to people and not knowing is really a disservice to everybody. Mm-hmm. It's I feel really bad because of our children in school, not university level, but I'm talking about younger children because they're being provided information and you just don't know. And they are so reliant on social media. If it's not on TikTok, it didn't happen. That's why I made the statement, if it's not written down, I was always taught if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. Take notes. You know what I mean?
Right.
That sort of stuff. So our kids are in school and if it's not on TikTok, it didn't happen. Well, if it's on TikTok, maybe it did happen, maybe it didn't. But that's why I feel they really need.
Or if it's not on TV.
Right. Well, that was great. You just poked your eye into the microphone. You just gave Miss Bianca just gave herself a dotted eye. She leaned in. She
I
leaned
have
in
my
and-
glasses, so they protect my
Right, but you
eyes.
popped the lens out, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's
She
a
leaned in and
joke.
was like, this would hurt. All right, so Miss
I
Bianca,
was so into your conversation that
you were into my conversation. Well, thank you. So, Miss, have you have any experience, any personal, times that you've experienced that? This is
Oh,
your section
plenty,
now.
plenty. Always. And I have so many stories. Like I can't, for an example, people that I know, had news out there and
What news?
misunderstood.
Is there a good story? You don't have an example, do you?
No, but
Okay. So, folks, all right. So basically, everybody's had this happen to them at one point or another. So I know that people have said things about me online that are not accurate. They're not even close to true. Not even close. So far from the truth. You made a right-hand turn and a U-turn. You went in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Not real, but it happens. Now, you could go through the steps to get it down, but it's very difficult to do that. But everybody experiences it. Some experience it on a larger level, larger scale. I mean, how many people were told about a party or the release date of a movie or a show, and you go and sit down to watch it, or you show up to a party, or you show up to an event that you went to, and it was a typo on the paper, or somebody forwarded the wrong information, and that people showed up, and you were the only one there, or there was nobody there to be found. It was last week, and you didn't go because you thought it was the next week. We've all experienced that. That is just part of life. That was hoping you were going to give me when we were on set yesterday, offset. We were talking about some examples.
An example for there was like a Christmas party, and they were saying like something about ugly sweater party.
Oh, right.
And then all of a sudden, nobody was wearing an ugly sweater, and me and my friends were like the only people that had ugly sweaters.
Right.
So we felt
but they advertised it to everybody as ugly sweater.
Yeah. So
and they should have went and said in the middle, right? And like,
hey, nobody's going to be wearing it, so you don't have to if you
send out a text message or a last minute email. But yeah, nobody showed up with it.
Yeah, it was so stupid.
Lesson learned, right?
Yeah. It's like showing up in your pajamas too.
Well, it's like when somebody has a barbecue and you wonder if they got a pool.
Yeah.
Do you bring swimming trunks with you? Do you bring your swimsuit?
Yeah.
But you don't. But see, here it is. This is common sense, and this is what I worry that our generation, it might be the last generation to think like this, because we think, okay, we'll throw I put it in the bag, the bathing suit. I throw in the extra stuff and garbage that I might need because I'm preparing for that. But other people, maybe not. They just might show up in the bathing suit.
Right.
Or they don't use their head.
Also, like people get confused too, like at a barbecue, at a club, you're supposed to be dressed up.
Oh,
not
right.
be in your shorts and bathing suit to that barbecue.
Showing up to a wedding, or a black tie event.
Right.
Or a black tie or a bow tie event, and you're the only one that's not in a tux and a bow tie.
So embarrassing. Or like a Halloween party, and you're the only one in the costume when nobody else is, or something. It's so awkward.
Right.
Very awkward.
Like especially as an adult, and you're like this, and they're having a Halloween party. Everybody getting dressed up, and I got one. I got one for you. Remember they did it to with Reese Witherspoon.
Elle Woods,
and she showed up in the pink bunny thing, and they all laughed at her, right? And so it happens. It does happen.
But what's great about her? She owned it.
She did. Wow.
She really did.
Listen, there's nothing I can't. I mean, Reese Witherspoon is a class act.
Oh my God! And the way she did it, she's like, I decided to dress up.
Right. And actually, at the end of the day, her man was the ex-man was
really
like,
liked it.
So do you have another song queued up to go to before we move into the conclusion, the exciting conclusion? All right.
By Faith Hill.
I can feel the magic floating in the air. Being with you gets me that way. I watch the sunlight dance across your face, and I've never been this swept away. All my thoughts just seem to settle on the breeze when I'm lying wrapped up in your arms. The whole world just fades away, and the only thing I feel is the beating of your heart. 'Cause I can feel you breathe, pushing over me, and suddenly I'm melting into you. There's nothing left to prove, baby, all we need is just to be caught up in the touch, slow and steady rush. Baby, isn't that the way that love's supposed to be? I can feel you breathe. Just breathe. In a way, I know my heart is waking up as all the walls come tumbling down. Closer than I've ever felt before. And I know, and you know, there's no need for words right now. 'Cause I can feel you breathe, washing over me, and suddenly I'm melting into you. There's nothing left to prove, baby, all we need is just to be caught up in the touch, slow and steady rush. Baby, isn't that the way that love's supposed to be? I can feel you breathe. Just breathe. Touch, a slow and steady rush. Baby, isn't that the way that love's supposed to be? I can feel you breathe. Just breathe.
That was wonderful, Miss
Thank
Bianca.
you.
Wow. Wonderful job, Miss Bianca. So, folks, again, we did it again. All right, so coming to the conclusion of the show today, the summary and conclusion. As we conclude this episode, it's very clear combating misinformation requires extreme vigilance on everybody's part. Your part, my part, everybody. The people that are putting out the information and the people that are reading it. The digital age presents both the challenges and the opportunities for enduring accurate and engaging information. We are in a wonderful time right now with the access to information. The digital age is providing so much to everybody, but it is a double-edged knife. You need to be cautious on what it is that you put out and you read. You must safeguard our society against misinformation and really disinformation. It's your duty and my duty to pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
So what does Cinotti say? Cinotti's call to action, as always, stay engaged. It's critical that you stay engaged. Reflect on your own consumption of information. What information are you consuming it and where are you consuming it from? And make sure that your habits, and it becomes a habit, muscle memory, that you validate the information and you say, what I found here truly is what it is. Embrace these platforms. Embrace the tools. Embrace what is available to us today. The access to information is insane compared to what we had. And we are humans. Our quest for truth at the end of the day far exceeds any other feeling and any other thing out there. We need to seek truth. Everybody seeks truth. Pay attention. 360, 365. Keep your head on a swivel. 180 this way, 180 that way. Always be paying attention. With that, I thank you for attending the Hostile Zone yet another day, enjoying the commentary and the information. I hope that you took something from it. Special thanks to my co-host, the on-air vocalist, Miss Bianca Sea. Thank you very much. Remember to always tune in to the Hostile Zone because we are on 7 days a week and twice on Mondays. We are on your FM dial, your AM dial, iHeartRadio, internet, satellite, every single podcast platform, and social media. The Hostile Zone at bbstalkradio.com. The Hostile Zone at bbstalkradio.com. Eric Cinotti at bbstalkradio.com. Bianca CSEA at bbstalkradio.com. Don't ever miss an episode of The Hostile Zone. Pay attention. Look around. Just Google The Hostile Zone. You're going to find it. Our historic quote of the episode. Truth will ultimately prevail where there is pains to bring it to light. Truth will ultimately prevail where there is pains to bring light. Meaning it's hard to tell the truth, but the truth will fight because it causes that pain is in you to put it out there because we seek truth. George Washington. George Washington obviously was the first president of the United States. I hope that I don't have to tell you that, but he always emphasized the meaning of truth and seeking truth and providing truth.
Wow, I didn't know about that quote. Wow, you just blew my mind about that.
Yeah, I tried to. So the funny joke of the day. Ready, folks?
Ooh,
right here.
Okay.
Why did the computer go to therapy?
Why did the computer go to therapy? I don't know why.
Because it had too many bytes of bad data. Woo!
Oh my God,
back
that's
it.
so funny.
In your face!
So cute.
So, folks, stay connected. Pay attention. The Hostile Zone, we're here for you. Reach out to us on email. Come back tomorrow. Check it out. You can find us anywhere. Miss Bianca, how you going to close us out as always?
By singing the national anthem a cappella, of course.
A cappella, of course. Take it away.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Not going anywhere.
Oh,